The road outside the farm was quiet again. Days passed, then weeks. Life slowly returned to its old rhythm, but something inside Emma had changed forever. The fear of losing the farm was gone, yet the place felt strangely empty. She still woke up early. She still worked the land, but now every corner reminded her of Daniel. She remembered the way he struggled with the fence but never complained, the way he listened when she spoke about her parents, the way he looked at the land, not with hunger, but with respect. One evening, Emma sat on the porch, holding the bank letter again. "He saved me," she whispered, and walked away. That was when she made her decision. She packed a small bag and locked the house. Before leaving, she walked to the oak tree and placed her hand on the soil. "I won't forget," she said softly. "Either of you." Daniel was living far from the city now, in a small town near the hills. He rented a simple room and worked with his hands for the first time in his life. No meetings, no suits, no lies. People didn't know who he used to be, and for the first time, he didn't care. But at night, when the work was done and the room was quiet, his thoughts always returned to Emma. "Did I do the right thing?" he asked himself again and again. One afternoon, while fixing a fence for a neighbor, Daniel heard a familiar voice. "Still fixing things the hard way?" He froze. Slowly, he turned around. Emma was standing there. Her eyes were red, but she was smiling. Daniel couldn't speak. "You left without saying goodbye," Emma said. "I thought that was what you wanted," he replied quietly. Emma shook her head. "I wanted the truth, and now I have it." They stood in silence for a long moment. "I know I hurt you," Daniel said. "I won't ask for forgiveness. I just needed you to know I never touched your land. Not for money, not for profit." "I know," Emma replied. "That's why I'm here." She told him about the bank letter, about the debts, about how she finally understood the kind of man he had become. Daniel looked down. "I was wrong from the start. I lied." "Yes," Emma said. "You did." He nodded. "And I'll live with that." Emma took a step closer. "But you also chose to lose everything," she continued, "instead of taking what wasn't yours." Daniel looked at her, surprised. "I don't know if I can forget the lie," Emma said honestly, "but I can see who you are now." Tears filled Daniel's eyes. "I don't need your forgiveness today," he said, "or tomorrow. I just want to be honest from now on." Emma smiled softly. "That's all I ever wanted." They began walking together, slowly, talking like two people learning each other again, not as a buyer and an owner, not as a liar and a victim, but as equals. Weeks later, Daniel returned to the farm, not as a millionaire, but as a partner. Together, they opened the land to help others. They taught farming skills, shared food, and gave work to families who needed a second chance. The secret Emma's parents had protected finally lived on. The farm did what it was meant to do. One quiet evening, as the sun set over the fields, Daniel stood beside Emma. "I once thought money could buy anything," he said. "I was wrong." Emma smiled. "Some things only grow when you're honest." Daniel took her hand. "Then let's grow them together." The wind moved gently through the land. The farm was no longer a prize to be taken. It was a promise kept.
The farm felt empty without Daniel. Emma noticed it in small things. The fence he had almost finished fixing, the tools he always cleaned before leaving, the quiet mornings that now felt louder than before. She tried to focus on work, but her hands moved slowly. Her thoughts kept returning to the same question. Was any of it real? The offer folder still sat on her table. She had not opened it. She was afraid that once she did, the farm would no longer feel like home. That afternoon, the bank called. The woman on the phone spoke kindly, but the words were sharp. "Miss Carter, your time is almost up. If payment is not made soon, the property will be taken." Emma closed her eyes. "I understand," she said quietly. After the call ended, she finally opened the folder. The number inside made her breath stop. It was more money than she had ever seen. Enough to save her from debt. Enough to walk away. She remembered Daniel's face when the truth came out, the regret in his eyes, the way he told Victor to leave. Her hands shook. At the same time, Daniel sat alone in his city apartment. The place was large, clean, and cold. It felt nothing like the farm. Victor stood in front of him, angry. "You embarrassed the company," Victor said. "You walked away from a fortune." Daniel didn't reply. "The board is furious," Victor continued. "If you don't fix this, you're out." Daniel looked up. "Then I'm out." Victor laughed. "You'd throw away everything for a woman?" Daniel answered calmly. "I already did." Victor left. That night, Daniel made a decision no one expected. He paid off Emma's debts. Quietly, fully, without putting his name anywhere. He also signed legal papers that removed his company from any future claim on the land. When his lawyer asked why, Daniel simply said, "Because it was never mine." Back at the farm, Emma received a letter from the bank. Her hands trembled as she read it. "All debts cleared, property secure, no further action required." She read it again. And again. This can't be right," she whispered. She rushed to the bank the next morning. The manager looked surprised to see her. "Yes, everything is settled," he said. "A private payment, very generous." "Who paid it?" Emma asked. The manager hesitated. "I'm not allowed to say." But Emma already knew. Her heart ached. She walked back to the farm slowly. Tears filled her eyes, not from pain, but from understanding. Daniel had loved her enough to let her go. That evening, Emma walked to the oak tree. She knelt and brushed the soil with her fingers. "My father was right," she whispered. "This land changes people." She finally understood the secret her parents had protected. The farm was meant to help others, quietly, honestly, just as Daniel had helped her. At the same time, Daniel packed his belongings. He sold his apartment. He left the company behind. Money no longer felt important. Only one thing did: Emma. The part ends with Emma standing at the edge of her land, looking toward the road, and Daniel driving away from the city, unsure if he would ever see her again. Both believing they had lost each other, but neither knowing that love had already changed everything. The morning came with heavy clouds. The sky was gray, and the air felt thick, like something bad was about to happen. Emma woke early, but did not feel rested. Her chest felt tight, and her thoughts would not slow down. She had trusted Daniel more than she had planned to trust anyone, and that scared her. Outside, Daniel stood near the barn, pretending to fix a broken board. His hands moved, but his mind was far away. He had not slept at all. Every path in front of him led to pain. Tell the truth and lose her. Stay silent and hurt her anyway. By late morning, a black car appeared on the dirt road. Emma noticed it first. No one with a car like that came here for friendly reasons. The car stopped near the gate. A man in a clean suit stepped out. His shoes did not touch the mud. He looked around with interest, not care. Daniel froze when he saw him. "No, not here." The man smiled when he saw Daniel. "There you are," he said loudly. "We've been trying to reach you." Emma turned sharply. "Reach who?" she asked. Daniel opened his mouth, but no sound came out. The man laughed lightly. "You didn't tell her?" he asked Daniel. "That's surprising." Emma's heart began to race. "Tell me what?" she demanded. The man looked at her now, polite but cold. "Ma'am, my name is Victor Hale. I represent Hale Developments." Emma felt dizzy. She looked at Daniel. "You said you worked for rich men," she whispered. "You said you were just a helper." Daniel stepped forward. "Emma, please." Victor interrupted. "Daniel Reed isn't a helper. He owns the company." The words landed like a blow. Emma felt the ground shift beneath her feet. "Owner," she repeated. Daniel could no longer look at her. "You lied," Emma said softly. "I didn't plan to," Daniel began. "But you did," she said, her voice shaking. "Every day." Victor cleared his throat.
"We're here to make a final offer for the farm." Emma laughed, but tears filled her eyes. "So this was all a game," she said, "pretending to be poor, eating my food, listening to my stories?" Daniel shook his head. "No, it stopped being a game a long time ago." Emma stepped back. "You used my kindness," she said. "You used my parents' land." "That wasn't my intention," Daniel said desperately. "I swear." "But it was your choice," she replied. Victor handed her a folder. "This offer is much better than the last one." Emma didn't take it. She looked only at Daniel. "Get off my land," she said quietly. Victor looked annoyed. "Miss, think carefully. You're drowning in debt. This is your only chance." Emma's voice rose. "I said get off my land." Daniel turned to Victor. "Leave." Victor stared at him. "Are you serious? This land is worth millions." "I know," he replied. "That's why you're leaving." Victor scoffed. "You're making a mistake." "Maybe," Daniel said, "but it's mine to make." Victor got back into the car and drove away, his tires throwing dirt behind him. Silence followed. Emma's whole body shook. "So," she said finally, "what was real?" Daniel stepped closer. "Everything you felt, everything we shared, that was real." Emma shook her head. "I don't know what's real anymore." She pointed toward the road. "You should go too." Daniel's heart broke. "I can explain," he said. "I don't want explanations," Emma replied. "I trusted you." Daniel nodded slowly. "I understand." He walked toward his car. Before leaving, he turned back. "I never meant to hurt you." Emma didn't answer. That night, Emma sat alone in her house. The folder lay unopened on the table. She cried for the first time in years, not for money, not for the farm, but for hope she had allowed herself to feel. Daniel drove far away and stopped on a quiet road. He rested his head against the steering wheel. For the first time, he felt truly poor. Not in money, but in heart. Back at the farm, Emma made a decision, not out of anger, but out of pain. "If this land destroys everyone who comes near it," she whispered, "maybe it's time to let it go."
The rain stopped before morning, but the farm stayed quiet and heavy, as if it was holding its breath. Emma woke up early, unable to sleep. The offer Daniel had shown her still burned in her mind, not because she wanted the money, but because it reminded her how close she was to losing everything. She stepped outside and walked slowly across the wet ground. Her boots sank slightly into the soil. She stopped near the old oak tree at the far end of the land. This was where her father had stood years ago, pointing at the ground, telling her stories she had not fully understood back then. Daniel arrived later that morning. He could tell something was different. Emma spoke less. Her eyes looked distant, like she was carrying a heavy thought she could not put down. They worked quietly, fixing tools and cleaning the shed. Finally, Daniel broke the silence. "You don't have to decide anything yet," he said gently, "about the offer." Emma nodded but did not look at him. "I know," she said, "but time doesn't wait." Daniel hesitated. "If you want to talk, I can listen." Emma stopped working. She looked at him for a long moment, as if deciding whether he was safe enough to hear the truth. "No one here stays long," she said slowly. "Everyone leaves when things get hard." "I'm still here," Daniel replied. That was when she spoke. "This farm isn't just land," Emma said. "There's something under it, something my father hid." Daniel's heart skipped. "Hid?" he asked carefully. Emma nodded. "Not money, not gold, something more important." She walked toward the oak tree, and Daniel followed. "My father believed land should serve people," she continued. "He worked with others, quietly. They planned something for the future." Daniel looked around the open field. "What kind of something?" he asked. Emma shook her head. "I can't say, not yet." Daniel wanted to ask more, but he stopped himself. That night, Daniel couldn't sleep. Her words repeated in his mind. Something under the land. The next day, Emma left early to visit town. She needed supplies. She also needed space to think. Daniel stayed behind to finish fixing the barn roof. As he worked, he noticed something strange near the oak tree. The soil there looked different, old but often turned, like someone had dug and filled it many times. He told himself to ignore it, but curiosity pulled at him. Daniel dug carefully with a small shovel. Not deep, just enough to see. His shovel hit something solid,
He froze. Slowly, he uncovered a metal box, old and rusted but locked. Daniel stared at it, his heart racing. "This isn't my place," he whispered. But he already knew. This land was worth far more than anyone imagined. He covered the box again, exactly as he found it. When Emma returned that evening, Daniel looked at her differently. Not as a seller, not as a target, but as someone guarding something sacred. Over the next few days, their closeness grew. They shared meals, they laughed quietly. Emma even smiled more, though sadness still lived behind her eyes. Daniel wanted to confess everything, but fear held him back. One afternoon, Emma finally opened up more. "My father said," she told Daniel, "that if I ever sold the farm to the wrong person, I would destroy something meant to help many." Daniel felt a cold fear. "What if the right person comes?" he asked. Emma looked at him. "Then they won't try to take it. They'll try to protect it." Those words cut deep. That night, Daniel met secretly with a man from his company in town. The man spoke fast, greedy, impatient. "We know the land is special," the man said. "Documents, future projects, everything points to huge value." Daniel's blood ran cold. "They know," he thought. Back at the farm, Emma stood by the window, watching the road. Something felt wrong, a feeling she could not explain. She whispered to herself, "Please, don't let him be like the others." Daniel returned late. He stood outside the house, staring at the door. He had uncovered the truth, but the truth now trapped him, because the more he learned, the more he understood one painful fact. If he told Emma who he really was, he would lose her, and if he stayed silent, he would destroy the very thing she was protecting.
The next morning, Emma woke before the sun. The farm always demanded early hours, no matter how tired she felt. She washed her face with cold water, tied her hair back, and stepped outside. The sky was pale blue, and the air smelled of wet soil. She walked toward the field, thinking about the stranger from yesterday. Daniel. He had looked poor but polite, tired but kind, not like the others who came asking about the land. Those men always arrived in clean cars and spoke fast, like time itself was chasing them. Daniel had been different. Emma shook the thought away and picked up her tools. An hour later, she heard footsteps again. She looked up. Daniel was standing near the gate, holding a small bag over his shoulder. He still wore the same old clothes. His face looked unsure, like he was afraid she might send him away. "Good morning," he said softly. Emma wiped her hands on her jeans. "You're back." "I hope that's okay," Daniel replied. "I was wondering if you might need help. I'm looking for work. Any work." Emma studied him carefully. "You don't look strong enough for farm work," she said honestly. Daniel smiled a little. "I can learn." She hesitated. Trust did not come easily to her anymore. Life had taught her to be careful. "What kind of work?" she asked. "Anything," he said. "I don't need much, just enough to eat." Emma looked at the fields, then back at Daniel. "I can't pay much," she said. "Sometimes I can't pay at all." "That's fine," Daniel replied quickly. "Food is enough." Something about his answer felt too fast. But Emma nodded. "All right, you can help with the fence." Daniel thanked her and followed her toward the broken fence. As they worked, Daniel felt something strange. His hands were not used to this kind of labor. They were used to signing papers, shaking hands, holding phones. After only a short time, his palms began to hurt. Emma noticed. "You can rest," she said. "I'm fine," Daniel replied, hiding the pain. He didn't want her to think he was weak. As the hours passed, they worked side by side. Emma spoke little, but Daniel listened closely. He watched the way she cared for the land, fixing things slowly, carefully, like every piece mattered. Around noon, Emma brought out 2 simple meals, rice and vegetables. "This is all I have today," she said. Daniel shook his head. "It's more than enough." They ate in silence. Daniel's phone buzzed again in his pocket. Another message from the city. "Why no progress? Is she refusing? Increase pressure." Daniel did not reply. That afternoon, as they rested under a tree, Daniel finally spoke. "Emma, have many people tried to buy this farm?" "Yes," she said, "for years." "Why now?" he asked. She looked away. "Because they think I'm weak." Daniel frowned. "Are you?"
Emma met his eyes. No, just tired. Daniel nodded slowly. He wanted to tell her everything, that he was one of them, that he was lying, but the words stayed trapped in his chest. That evening, Daniel left to sleep in his car again, but the next day he returned. And the next. Days turned into a week. Daniel became part of the farm's routine. He fixed fences, cleaned the barn, and helped Emma carry heavy tools. He laughed when he failed and listened when Emma spoke about her parents. He learned that her father believed land should help people, not trap them in greed. He learned her mother used to help poor families quietly, without asking for thanks. Daniel felt smaller every day. One afternoon, as they repaired the roof, Daniel finally said the words he had been holding back. "I heard," he said carefully, "that a rich man wants to buy land in this area." Emma stiffened. "Yes," she replied, "many rich men." "This one," Daniel continued, "he may offer you money, a lot of money." Emma climbed down the ladder and faced him. "And?" she asked. "And maybe selling would make life easier." Emma's eyes hardened. "Easier does not mean better," she said. Daniel swallowed. "But what if you lose everything?" Emma took a deep breath. "I already lost my parents," she said. "Money didn't stop that." Her words hit Daniel harder than he expected. That night, Daniel sat in his car again. He finally replied to his company. "She refuses, needs more time." The response came quickly. "No time, offer low price, push her, use pressure." Daniel closed his eyes. The next day, he did something he hated. He spoke as a messenger. "I need to tell you something," Daniel said as they stood near the barn. Emma looked at him. "What is it?" "There is a buyer. He asked me to speak to you." Emma's shoulders dropped slightly. "Of course he did." "He is offering money, not much, but enough to clear your debts." Emma laughed softly, but there was no joy in it. "They always offer enough," she said. "Enough to take, never enough to care." Daniel took out a folded paper, a fake offer, a low offer. He handed it to her. Emma read it slowly. Her hands trembled. "This is an insult," she whispered. "I know." Daniel said. "Then why bring it to me?" she asked. Daniel looked down. "Because I thought, maybe you're tired." Emma folded the paper and handed it back. "I am tired," she said, "but I am not broken." She walked away. Daniel stood there, feeling sick. That night, rain fell hard on the farm. Emma sat alone in her house, staring at the old family photo on the wall. Bills lay scattered on the table. She whispered, "What do I do?" At the same time, Daniel received another message. "Last chance, close deal, or we send someone else." Daniel stared at the screen. He realized something terrifying. If someone else came, they would not care like he did, and that meant Emma would lose everything.
The sun had barely risen when Emma Carter stepped out of her small wooden house and looked at her farm. The morning air was cold, and fog rested low on the ground, covering the fields like a soft white blanket. The farm was not big. The soil was tired. The fence leaned in places, and the gate at the front had finally broken the night before. Emma sighed and pulled her worn jacket tighter around her body. This farm was everything she had. She picked up an old hammer and tried to fix the broken gate. Her hands were rough from years of work, and small cuts covered her fingers. Each strike of the hammer felt heavy, not because of the wood, but because of the thoughts in her mind. Bills were due. The bank had sent another warning letter. If she did not pay soon, she would lose the farm. The farm her parents had worked on their whole lives. The farm where she was born. The farm where her parents were buried. A tear formed in her eye, but she quickly wiped it away. Emma did not allow herself to cry easily. Crying did not fix broken gates or unpaid debts. As she struggled with the gate, she heard footsteps on the gravel road. She looked up. A man was standing a few steps away. He looked tired. His clothes were old and dusty. His shoes were worn, with small holes near the toes. His hair was uncut, and his face showed signs of long travel. He looked like someone who had not slept well in days. Emma froze for a moment. People rarely came this way. "I'm sorry to bother you," the man said gently. "I think I'm lost. May I have some water?" His voice was calm, almost careful. Emma studied him. He did not look dangerous, just broken in a quiet way. "There's a pump near the house," she said. "You can drink from there."
The man smiled, relief crossing his face. "Thank you. I'm Daniel." "Emma," she replied. She watched as Daniel walked slowly toward the pump. He drank the water like someone who had been thirsty for a long time. When he finished, he wiped his mouth and looked around the farm. Daniel noticed everything. The cracked walls of the house, the weak roof, the old tractor that hadn't moved in years, the land, valuable land, hidden by poverty. But Emma did not see what Daniel saw. To her, this farm was not money. It was memory. "You live here alone?" Daniel asked. Emma nodded. "Since my parents passed." "That must be hard." She shrugged. "You get used to hard." Daniel felt something twist inside him. This was not how the plan was supposed to feel. Daniel was not a poor traveler. He was a millionaire businessman, owner of a real estate company that bought land cheaply and sold it for huge profit. This farm sat in the middle of a future development zone. In a few years, it would be worth millions. The company wanted the land. Daniel had volunteered to handle this deal himself. But he did not come as a rich man. He came as someone poor. Because poor people trusted other poor people. That was always how it worked. Emma noticed him looking at the land. "You're welcome to rest for a bit," she said. "I don't have much, but I can make tea." Daniel hesitated. He was not supposed to stay. But something in her voice made him nod. Inside the house, the air smelled like old wood and dried herbs. The furniture was simple and worn, but clean. Emma placed 2 cups on the table and poured tea. She offered him a small piece of bread. Daniel looked at it. "Is this all you have?" Emma smiled softly. "Enough for today." Daniel had eaten in the finest restaurants in the world, yet this piece of bread felt heavier than any meal he had ever had. "You should eat," he said. "I will," she replied. "After you." Daniel took a bite. He felt ashamed. "So," Emma said, trying to make conversation, "where are you headed?" Daniel paused. "I go where work takes me. Mostly farms like this." Emma looked surprised. "Farms?" "Yes," he said carefully, "helping rich men buy land." Her smile faded slightly. "I won't sell," she said quietly. Daniel looked at her. "I didn't ask." "I know," she replied, "but people usually come here for that reason." "How many?" "Too many." Daniel felt another twist in his chest. "Why not sell?" he asked. "You could start a new life, somewhere easier." Emma looked down at her hands. "My father planted these fields," she said. "My mother believed this land had a purpose. They died believing that." Daniel waited. "They said someday," Emma continued, "this farm would help others, not make someone rich." Daniel swallowed. She had no idea how close she was to the truth. "What if you lose it?" he asked softly. Emma looked up at him, her eyes strong despite the pain behind them. "Then I lose it knowing I didn't give up." Silence filled the room. Daniel stood up. "I should go," he said. Emma nodded. "You're welcome to come back if you need rest." As Daniel walked away, his phone vibrated in his pocket. A message from his company. "Close the deal fast. Offer low. No delays." Daniel stopped at the gate and looked back at the farm. At Emma. At the broken gate she was trying to fix alone. For the first time in his life, Daniel felt something money had never given him. Conflict. That night, Daniel sat in his car on the side of the road. He removed his expensive watch and locked it in the glove box. He put on older clothes. "If I want this land," he whispered to himself, "I'll have to become someone else." But deep inside, he did not yet know the truth. This farm would not change his bank account. It would change his heart.